it going, girlfriend?
Good. How about you?
Doing really good, really good. Kind of
Good.
getting excited because there's some, we're in the planning stages of our last of our planning stages for our trip in January. So kind of stoked about that.
Oh,
No.
yeah. I'm stoked for you. Plus your new ride. That $7 a month you get from Facebook. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Paying for the
yeah,
new
like a $7 paycheck.
ride. Don't worry, IRS. She will be reporting that even though she doesn't have to under $1,000.
Right. Well, I mean, it's the difference between me retiring in 30 years and 29 years. So, I mean,
Right? Exactly.
so
So,
how
as
are
you
you?
know, our people, our other co-host, they're still doing holiday things, hanging with fam, hanging with loved ones and fur babies. So it's just Carrie and I talking a lot of smack tonight, and we are excited. Um, hey Mike, how are ya? Oh, hey Demon. Thanks for checking us out tonight. How was everybody's Thanksgiving? Carrie.
Mine was uneventful because we had celebrated the Sunday before, so it was just nice and quiet. I worked because why not?
Yeah. Why not? I feel you on that. Yeah, we have kind of a small house and we had about 15 people here, but that means it was lively and full of laughter, so it was pretty good.
That's the best part, actually.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, the food, I'm having leftovers for dinner tonight because, well, they go in the trash tonight. So, and Melissa, if you're watching, yay, I'm glad, Damon. What'd you do?
You gotta love
Oh,
extra food.
nice. Yeah, I remember when Alton and I had to do that, Damon, or Mike. It was a lot. Then we started hosting because we got sick of having 2 meals in one day.
That in itself is a lot.
Yes, it is. Oh, Carrie, you have found a really cool topic that I admire her strength for, and I want you to go and talk. Oh, hey, where'd you get your brisket from, Mike? Did you get it from Nissan Stadium? So Mike is one of the guys that we met through Cool Carrie.
Oh, neat. Yeah, Damon, I'm sorry. I actually was pulling for you guys on that. Yeah, didn't turn out like I thought it would. Oh, your cousin was Damon says cousin was in from the Air Force. I think Jen is frozen at the moment. She'll be getting back in with us here just a few minutes. She did introduce our my first topic, and it's Anna Muzychuk. Muzychuk. She is from the Ukraine, and she is a chess champion. She and her sister both, and they have both decided they were not going to defend their title in let's see here, because the next round of the championship is in Saudi Arabia. And this is they were told both in 2018, I believe, and this year that they would have to be wearing black suits, high white collared shirts, to be able to participate. They would have to have something on their head, as well as a male escort to leave the hotel room. And she said she is taking a huge hit on her winnings because she is not participating. And her stand is she doesn't want to be told how and who she has to, what she has to wear. It's not the same for men. And so it's very impressive in the fact that she's willing to forego these titles to stand up for what she feels as an injustice to women in general.
That it's so impressive what she's doing though. Like, you're talking about the young lady who won the who's a grand chess master.
Yes, and she's like one of 15 women. So I mean, it's a very, very small percentage of the grandmasters that are actually women. So she is taking a stand and saying no.
Okay, that's so I'm so impressed. And she's refused to play in Saudi Arabia. She's refusing to play in Iran now. Is that correct?
Yes, and part of it is because she's from the Ukraine and that. And then I also read a statement, and I couldn't find it again, but it said that you remember she's from Ukraine, that there are potentially 3 to 5 Russian players to be there. So I'm sure that, not only is it she was standing up for that, but I can't imagine having to go and play against people from the country that's trying to destroy your country. So and that whole atrocity and how they're ruining their heritage and everything. So I can see where both are very valid and impressive reasons to say no thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I know it's tough. I feel bad for Ukrainians because the rest of the world kind of knew Russia was waiting to invade, but the Ukrainians are such a loving culture that they were like, no, these are our brothers and our sisters, and they're never going to invade us. And sadly, a year and a half later, we see what's going on.
I watched.
No, so sorry, honey. Go ahead.
I said I watched a thing. I mean, we're totally getting off subject here, and I'll just make this comment. There was a documentary or a news blurb about how the Russians are specifically targeting the points that are fundamental to the Ukraine and their society and their heritage, and they've robbed them of all of their arts. They're destroying all of the foundational and these century-old focal places with community, like they're who they are. And It's really sad. It's incredibly sad that it's happening right now in our world that said in the 1940s we weren't going to let a portion of humanity to be stopped or erased from the world. And it's kind of, someone's trying to do that right now, I think, anyway.
I agree with you. But so you saw that Alton actually told me about this because I haven't been feeling well. And I kind of crashed early on Sunday night. And you may or may not have been watching a certain Eagles-Bills game.
Oh, yes. I wonder why, though. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Your fiance?
This really handsome man that's sitting over here to the side of me. Yeah, that would be the reason.
On your cruise, are y'all planning on getting hitched? Because if so, I need to book my. Okay, good. All right.
No, we are not.
All right, just asking. So, for those of you who may not have noticed it due to travel or whatever, it kind of lit up everywhere on X. But 2 Bills players and a fan got into it. An Eagles fan got into it near the end of the 4th quarter of the Bills-Eagles game. Now, as we all know, that stadium is loud. It's obnoxious. It's the one stadium in the league that actually has a jail. And I don't really go to opposing games anyway, but if I were to ever go to one, it would not be in Philadelphia. My mouth gets away with me. So I'm not going to lie. It does. That being said, people should not be making death threats to players or about their families. We've seen this happen before in the NBA. Who was it last year? It was one of the Suns players, or is that Arizona? Or is that they were playing against Arizona? It was a young white male.
Oh, wasn't it
teenager?
Wasn't it against CP3, Chris
Yes,
Paul?
thank you. And against his wife.
You with the memory. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, sorry, go ahead. I know. Good call. My whole thing is, yeah, you want to talk smack, but you don't threaten people's lives. You don't threaten their families. Now, Eagles security did the Bills a grave disservice. If any fan at Bank of America Stadium, and I heard about it, ever said anything like that to a opposing team's player, I would not be a happy camper. But I do, as much of a dumpster fire as we are right now, I would still think that we would boot them out, or at least move them away from where players can hear what was being said, because it was something enough that, like, even Coach McDermott asked Eagle security to remove the fan from within earshot.
Okay, but I'm going to play devil's advocate for here.
Mm-hmm.
You're in an opposing stadium, and if you're asking and requesting something, it's not going to come across as being. It may not come across as it being because it's offensive. It's because they're saying something and they're trying to hurt our feelers. I'm just trying to frame that as.
No,
Since
I hear what you're saying, but I think
I don't know what was said, so I have not followed it that close. But I did see the confrontation.
Yeah,
and
that
someone
confrontation
that's
should
paid
not
to
have
be
happened.
right, someone who's paid to be a professional athlete, you either figure out a way to tune it out or be the bigger person.
I don't know, Carrie. When you talk smack about, did they handled it wrong, but it had been building up. I will say that you talk smack, call somebody a loser, call somebody, just be like, my grandma could have caught that ball, something like that.
Where's look at how the John Q. Public interacts on Facebook.
Oh yeah, it's got to change.
So they have moved from being able to be a keyboard warrior to being front and center and on stage where they do that. And I think that's where we've kind of lost the connection to humanity, is that we don't have to pay for there's no repercussion sometimes for our actions. But I am still going to go back to the player. He's a paid professional. I don't think that the fan was in the right.
Again.
The fan was not in the right, and they should have been able to move him at some point. But a paid professional is paid for a reason. That fan's there to enjoy, and I don't feel like that the players should have interaction. Now, McDermott could have done something and kept his player away from there, or have his staffs keep that at a distance. The Eagle security, I'm not sure if you saw on the footage, they did not look intimidating. So maybe they need to have some intimidating looking security officers on the visitor's side. I don't know, but we know, this is the stadium that threw snowballs at Santa Claus. So, so you have to remember that this is not a friendly environment to go into as a competitor. If they're going to throw snowballs at Santa, what else are they, it kind of you kind of have a perception. So allowing a fan to get into your mind, knowing that this is not a comfortable environment for a traveling team,
right?
You have to. As I said, you were getting back online. Is they threw snowballs at Santa? What do you think they're going to say to people?
Right. My whole thing is, this fan obviously knew enough about these two guys and their families for these players to feel very protective and defensive of their families. And I'm sorry, I research my opposing teams. I don't dig deep into like Kirk Cousins' wife.
But do But are they from the same town? Are they from the same area? Did they run in similar circles at some
Oh, I
point
don't
in their
know that
life?
much. I just saw
Yeah,
everything on
see,
there.
that's there's a lot of what do we not know? And what I can say through the outside observation and then living with a fan of Philly sports is they are extremely loyal to their team. And anyone that has come in from that region and plays for the Eagles or plays for the home team is going to be that much more, you have the cloud. They kind of turn against those that choose that aren't brought in. So, but then we're also talking about the Bills. So let's flip that a little bit. And it's the Bills who are not, their fan base is extremely rowdy. You've got two
you don't hear about Bills
bases.
fans doing stuff like that. You hear about them drinking too much.
We also watch them belly flop on tables and shoot each other down with ketchup and mustard. So they're not about class.
Right. Well, and my thing is like every fan, I think every team, you're going to have bandwagoners, but you're also going to have your loyal core. The Bills fan base, one of the most faithful. Like they travel well.
Have you ever watched the Chiefs turn a stadium red?
I have. I wasn't, and I was actually going to make that point. Chiefs have turned opposing teams' stadiums red. Hell, I had Jerry Jones come on into my stadium and enshrine Jimmy Johnson into the Dallas Cowboys Hall of Fame.
Ouch.
That was pretty effed up. But another day, another story. That being said, each team has their very loyal, strong fan base. And you're right. I feel like Philly fans oftentimes use this as an excuse to get all their rambunctiousness out because Philly's a nice town, right? So people are pretty nice, they're pretty chill. And I feel like they just really let loose. And here's the thing, Philly fans cannot outdrink Bills fans. So for Bills fans being as drunk and intoxicated as they are at games, and I've seen it, and Alton will tell you that there's only one city on earth that can outdrink him, and that is Buffalo. I feel like you have to have an edge of decorum, and I feel like that fan took things too far. The players,
I said this while you were off
because they were messing up and they were losing, right? But then you get defensive. Like if you hear somebody talk smack about Rob or your son, then hey, no, actually, Eric, Rob, I was very nice. I said I feel like they let loose at Eagles games. I was actually very nice about the city of Philadelphia.
I said this while you were getting back on the internet is the Bills staff hearing if McDermott had asked and hearing all this, why didn't they have someone back there to redirect? Form a line, form a barrier. So security isn't doing it, but then why didn't the Bills staff step up and be over there?
Because the Bills staff is coaching a football game.
Not everyone.
What do you want? The players over there, the medical staff who has to be on alert?
You've got all kinds of people over there on the sidelines. What I'm saying is if McDermott had found out that there was talking, then he could have put somebody or someone and buddied him up with somebody and say, just stay here, dude. Don't go over there.
Well,
I get it.
And I think McDermott had done that until those who finally lost their cool. But McDermott and the Bills players were right on them, getting their guys away from the fan. Not messing up, obviously. But
I'm not giving, and it's okay. I'm not giving the Phillies fan a bias, but I'm definitely not. We're paying these men. Those people in the stand are paying that man to be on the field. You know what I mean? So,
Rob said,
uh-uh.
It shouldn't matter what was said to them professionals. They need not to put NFL security in that position if they're going to hire 80-year-old men.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that. We're like, if you looked at the guards that were there, I alluded to this. There was no intimidation. In fact, I could push past with my redhead personality. I could push past any of those that were standing there.
Right. Why were they on the field? And why wasn't the sheriff's officer that was there on the field doing anything? Because that fan was obviously making threats. So in that respect,
I know you keep going back to the fan. I know you keep going back to that fan. And I understand player safety and stuff, but that fan is paying good money to be at that field.
Give them to a suite.
To be in that situation that is helping pay that professional player's salary. So you either, I don't know.
He's not helping pay. He is not helping pay the Bills' salary.
He's helping build this. He's helping pay the NFL and all. Not you're right. He's not paying that, but he is helping keep the organization going along. I mean, I'm looking at it as a consumer. You know,
right. Put him in a suite. Move him to a suite.
I'm just saying, I don't want to give any pass to the team or the bill or the player because they are professionals. And when someone gets angry with you in your professionalism, do you get to come back at them? I don't.
In a very diplomatic way, yes. It's I had one customer when I was doing VA mortgage who every single time we got on the phone, he would yell at me. He would cuss me out, everything. Finally, the last time I said, after he did it, the last time I waited 60 seconds. Literally, I counted down my head. I said, "Are you done yet, sir?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Okay, let me tell you how it is. You will no longer speak to me this way. I am the best VA processor you could hope to have. And if you want to continue having me, who has worked endlessly on getting this accomplished for you, then you, sir, will treat me with respect."
And see, you did it respectfully.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to say is you're in a professional situation. You need, and yes.
Well, exactly. Well, that's my point.
Situation where
The
people are
NFL
pounding each other. But you are also a professional. You are paid for that. I have been just,
I don't know. I feel like if at some point you stop being a professional when somebody is attacking your family, somebody comes
no,
up
because you know what? I was told that my mother, I had a customer go as far as saying, "I wish your mother would die." Okay. Do you know what I had to say?
Once tell me they wished me financial hardship.
No, I've had that done to me as a person taking inbound calls. In my professional, I can't take that to heart. I cannot react on that. So I apply what I'm expected to do in my professional life to the people that are professionals. And if you can't act in there.
And by the way, I'm not defending what these players did. I'm saying I can understand why they lost it. And Paul, that was my point actually, because the NBA protects the players a little bit more than the NFL does in every area, in my opinion. But that's we can go into that too. But yeah, because when CP3's wife and kids were being attacked by that young man, and I was surprised his mom didn't do anything. But I feel like there's a line drawn. Talk your shit. Smack talk. That's part of the fun of football, right? Like, it's just fun. But there's a line you don't cross. And Paul, I know you're a Cowboys fan, but look at like your Steelers neighbors and things. Paul's a great podcast as well. And check it out. It's in the box. But he lives in Pittsburgh Steelers country, and he's a Cowboys fan. So I kind of feel bad for him. But look at Steelers fans, same state, same general attitude. But you don't really hear the Steelers fans doing that. Just handle yourself with a little more class. And yes, absolutely, the players were in the wrong. You and I 100% agree on that.
You keep saying, but I'm gonna flip this back on you, and I'm not. And again, I have no skin in the game. Yeah, but you keep saying that the fans should have more class. I've heard that from every stadium in the world. So we can remove that because we watch what people do in social media, whether it's whatever platform, and they are vile, they are mean, And I feel like if you, as a professional, you can't let that mentality invade your workspace. I don't think anyone was in the right, but there are
No,
things that
absolutely.
we
I
should
agree
be
with you on that
expected.
100%.
There are things that should be expected for our players that are above and beyond, because they are getting $1 million or $800,000 to stand there on that field, and that fan has paid $800, $2,000 for the ticket that they're standing.
Yeah. I mean,
They're not
that's even
making that.
expensive too.
They're not making that $750,000 standing there on the sidelines. So take your $750,000 on the sidelines and figure out a way to be a professional. If it had been the Chiefs on the sidelines, I would say you are being paid $750,000 to stand there on the sidelines in a uniform. Find a way to be professional.
Yeah, I mean,
Ignore.
honestly, the players should have walked away. 100% agree with you on that. And I'm not defending the players' actions. I understand the players' actions.
It's not I don't understand, but when you are a professional, you do not get to bow down. Hey, God, hey, Lamar, you don't get to go down to the lower level that the audience is, whoever your audience is. I can't stoop to a lower level with a customer because they are deciding they want to attack me personally. That's kind of the thing is you can't stoop to their level and then not expect. So that's kind of where I'm like.
I mean, again, if I hear stuff for 2 hours straight, I'm going to lose my shit.
Then you lose your you lose your shit in the locker room. That's not, the field is not where you lose your shit. We've made fun of Brady for breaking tablets on the sideline.
That's just ridiculousness. That Brady's family Giselle was not being like.
But I'm saying
she wasn't being threatened. Do you know what I'm saying?
We don't know that he was being
that's threatened. Where the difference is when a person's family is being threatened, and you could actually see something, because a lot of these wives and family members travel, especially when you're going from Buffalo to Philly, so how do you know your family is not in imminent danger?
Then you have security send police people to you. If you had
asked for that though.
If McDermott
had asked the Eagle Stadium. Hey Rob, what's the name of the Eagle Stadium?
Do you know that it was?
Huh?
I'm just saying if you're in fear of your life or your family's life, then you get someone to step in. You still leave the jawing with the fans out of the realm, because that doesn't do anybody any service.
And here's the thing. Here's when I go to Panthers games and I've heard people, and we're up in the 500s, right? Like there's no way on earth some of these players are going to hear some of the stuff that's said, but unless it's fire roll. But when you're but I have actually heard stadium personnel be like, you can't talk like that. This is a family event. You just can't. And then, my point was they could have moved this man to a suite also. It would have been about the same price point. Because if he was...
No, he's saying that the way I read that is, if you're concerned, you should have bought the tickets and put your fan in them.
And I was saying, that was, my point was they could have also moved the fan to a suite too. But, I mean, again, I agree with... The players should not have attacked the fan. 100%. Don't disagree with that at all. But I think the fan was out of line. I hate it when Alton says certain things at games. Well, and I'm not giving him excuses either, Rob. I'm really not.
Well, you're saying it's understandable.
I'm not giving him an excuse. There's a difference between giving him an excuse and understanding why they lost their shit. Cool. But what? Well, honestly, they had started asking before the game even started, from everything I read on X. So, I don't know. I mean, and honestly, I don't have a dog in this fight at all. I mean,
I don't either. I just feel like the onus on this is the professional that was being paid to be at the game, not the fan. The fans are going to act like trash. It doesn't matter who it is. If you have a drunk, unruly person in any stadium, around any league, around any of that, you're going to have unruly fans.
I just feel like there was more outrage when CP3's family was being accosted, verbally accosted, as opposed to this. That's just
Yeah,
me.
but
I feel like that's a double standard.
These were two men talking back and forth, and it was not talking to his family. So CP3 is, yes, that I understand, but he was talking to two men were talking, or a group of men were talking, and so the comments were being made towards the player about if it was about his family, but it wasn't at his family. CP3's was at his family, so there's a little bit of difference there.
The Bills players' families were being accosted. Were like, I don't know if they were in the same section as this fan or not. I truly don't know. Literally, I went to bed because I was feeling like poop. So I was in bed like by the time that happened. Well, absolutely cool. I 100% agree with you. You can't do that. And I've said that all along. I'm saying that the fan was in the wrong too. Two wrongs don't make a right.
No, but one's paid to be on that field and one is not. One's paying to be
true, but it doesn't give
it. But you have to look at it as a business, from a business point of view. You've got someone that you are paying to be there as a representative of the NFL.
Eject people for throwing beer?
Huh?
Why is it okay to eject people from the stadium for throwing beer?
Maybe it's posted. I don't know. That's actually.
I was just wondering.
I mean, that. But if you're hitting somebody with that, that's you interacting with a person. When you're throwing words, that isn't assaulting. It's verbal. But
I mean, cool. And here's the thing: if they were getting cussed out in Philly, that's one thing. It was just more the threats on their life. That's when I kind of understand why the players got upset. I don't pardon them for losing it and pushing a fan while he's in the seats whatsoever. And I'm not doing that. I'm saying I understand why they did it. I'm not saying it's right.
No, but what it boils down to is you have to remember that the NFL is a business. We hear about this all the time. So we can't buy into, well, feelings at this point. It is a business. The business put a player on the field. The business took money from a fan in the stand. That fan was rowdy, granted.
Agree with you 100%, Lamar.
And it is, the fan was in the wrong. Yeah. But so is the man that called you and was cussing you out when you were trying to help. So is the person that threatened my mother's, asked my mother to die.
I want to go meet that person. In the wrong. In the shin, by the way. And I agree. And Lamar's saying probably more eloquently what I was trying to say. But he said, both you ladies have make valid points. There needs to be a certain decorum fans need to adhere to, and certain behaviors should not be allowed. Fans should keep their hands to themselves and not throw crap. Players should keep their hands 100% to themselves. They're still human, and I understand them losing their cool. However, they take the high road and not engage. Two wrongs don't make right.
Right. That's what I've been saying.
Carrie, you and I have been saying the same thing. We were just saying it different ways.
I'm not going to give any credence to why he did it, because it doesn't matter. The reason why the Bills fan decided to act, whatever he said does not matter in the situation. He was the one that is a paid professional and went to try to right this wrong. And there was no wrong. There was no way he was going to make it right.
No, he was wrong. And I think he was just trying to get him to shut up initially. Then he lost. He saw red. And cool. Here's the thing. And what didn't start mid-game. It started before the game even started. And at the beginning of the game, even McDermott and part of the Bills staff, as well as several of the players, had asked that fan be moved somewhere else.
And you said you heard this on
X, yeah.
X. But are you reading it from a bipartisan or a partisan page? I mean,
I was reading it by bipartisan people because I was reading Bills and Eagles fans, and there were a lot of Eagles fans, or not a lot, but a couple of Eagles fans were saying that no threats were made towards their families' lives, but there were like ESPN reporters saying there was. So
the ESPN reporter worked for though.
Four-letter number.
There's the thing is there's about 17 sides, and we'll never know the real truth. The real truth is the whole situation is fans need to be better across every sport, across all nation. They need to be better. They're not going to be. Newsflash. It starts when the kids are 2 years old and 4 years old playing youth soccer or baseball, whatever.
Yo, that's
So,
why my parents moved from Hickory.
so
Like straight up because of my
that's
brother.
not going to change, but what can change and what should change and where it needs to be, where you control what you can, and you
Yes.
can control someone's salary, and you can control who has a job.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, they should definitely be penalized. Like, I'm not saying they shouldn't get a punishment for this. What I'm saying is I understand them losing their cool. I truly understand that, because if somebody, I have a family member, you know how I feel about this family member.
Mhm.
I love them very much. I am the only person allowed to talk smack. Literally. I mean, I allow you to because we're girls, but hey.
Right.
But if I hear somebody else talking smack, no, you're not
No.
going to.
You're not going to talk about my family, but at the same time, I'm not going to in a public where I am.
You'll just check it out on X. I was getting it from different reporters. That's who I was seeing it, and I was seeing like both sides of the fans replying on the like reporters like sidelines. I saw some stuff from the Bills reporters. I saw stuff from ESPN. I saw stuff from Eagles reporters. So I mean, that's where I was seeing it. I don't just go get my news from X, because that's a surefire way not to be credible at all.
Lincoln said X was a very reliable source, so I don't know why you're upset about that.
We'll talk off camera since we're.
You mean Abraham Lincoln is not on X?
No. Well, possibly, but it's not the Abraham Lincoln.
My life is ruined. It's over.
It's not the Abraham Lincoln.
I'm
Maybe
so
it's not
disappointed. So disappointed.
Okay, so I have to go on a small tangent here, Carrie.
Take the floor, my sis. Take the floor.
If I hear one more male say that Nicole Tepper is running the Carolina Panthers, Nicole Tepper and David Tepper got married 2 years after David Tepper bought the team. David Tepper is solely responsible for everything. David Tepper wanted Bryce Young. We got Bryce Young. David Tepper wanted Cam Newton back. Don't know if you guys know this. After he came back after they fired him, he came back for that one season. Tepper wanted him back. Federer wanted him back. Cam played for Rule for 10 games. And he said, nah, you fire Rule, call me and I'll come back. But he wasn't going to play. And David Tepper is solely responsible. I think Frank Reich is a good man. I think he's actually a good coach. Frank Reich was not the correct fit for the Carolina Panthers.
James said that last year, just for those who have not followed us all along. When Reich was hired, Jen's like, they should have kept Wilkes. They should have kept Wilkes. They should have kept Wilkes.
Well, Wilkes took us to 500. My thing is that if I pay money and players' wife family gets handed tickets, I agree with you, but I will say this. I do know some players' families get stuck up in the 500 section. So it's not just, and I know this 100% without a shadow of a doubt. I know this. And so not every family member gets in a suite. Not every, honestly, you just don't. A lot of players, when you're going to an opposing team, if your family's going with you, they have to buy the tickets too. I mean, sometimes you can call a friend. I think Bryce Young and Justin Fields have a deal. So when we were playing the Bears, Bryce Young gave, Justin Fields gave Bryce's family some tickets to his suite. But yeah, usually that doesn't happen. Just saying. Okay, back to this. Gentlemen, if you're in the Charlotte area, listen to the Mac and Bone show, because quite frankly, over a month ago, Mac and Bone came on air and said, if you guys are sitting here blaming Nicole Tepper for the Carolina Panthers, something's wrong in your own marriage and your own relationship. So I'm here to tell you to stop being incels. And yes, I do know the definition, because at this point, every single guy that has said this to me is now an incel, because you're just alienating women. Stop being chauvinistic. On top of that, what if Nicole does know more football than David? And honestly, they were right to let Frank go. Frank was not the right fit. Bryce needs somebody who believes in him. And I'm stealing that from Sheena Queck, who was on the Pat McAfee show the other day. They have to believe. We need a trajectory. At the end of the day, we have a coach who believes in the GM. We have a GM who believes in the owner. We don't have an owner and a coach who believe in each other. It's got to be unilateral. You have to have trust. And when David Tepper said today during his press conference, I've had people working for me 20, 30 years. You know what? At the end of the day, I'm not a fan of the changes Tepper's made whatsoever. First of all, David, bring back my culture. Just so you know, Jerry didn't come up with Keep Pounding. Go to Wikipedia, pull up Sam Mills' page. Just saying, you'll find out where Keep Pounding came from. Keep Pounding seeped into the Carolinas, Georgia, Virginia, and everywhere there's fans. When I've been at my lowest low, I just think Keep Pounding. Because you know what? It means something. Because when you know what Keep Pounding came from, you know Sam Mills was getting up every single freaking day and battling cancer while coaching and taking a like a 2-year-old team or a 5-year-old team at that point to the playoffs, battling cancer that would ultimately take his life. You don't get it. It didn't come from Jerry. David, get over your crush on Jerry. All right, get over the heart on you got. Okay? Jerry's dead. We're not resurrecting him. I wish we could, but we're not. Anyway, people, stop blaming Nicole for everything because that chick is a lot tougher than you're going to ever think. And David, why would you... because they hired him before they drafted Bryce Young, and David Tepper wanted Bryce Young. Tepper...
Today's press conference, he said that CJ Stroud was always the one that he wanted. Just so you know, that I just watched that.
Wait, what? No, I've got a transcript of his press conference right here.
On ESPN, they were showing clips of it, and he said, just so you know, CJ Stroud was our ultimate. So he has now flipped that and saying that you all have Bryce Young because of, right? I don't know. But he said on his press conference that CJ Stroud was always the one you guys were wanting.
I was actually knee deep in work. Let me Google that real quick. Tepper comment. Because here's the thing. David Tepper, which is very unusual for an owner, flew to every single one of Bryce Young's private workouts. Flew to every single one.
Yeah. Cool. So Tepper is now going to spin this however he needs to spin it to save the fan base.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is what Tepper was saying, because they knew the Texans were going to get Bryce Young, right? Or that's what they were under. Nope. This is what it says. Tepper again admits the Panthers were initially going up to number 2 to get CJ Stroud. They thought the Texans would be drafting Bryce Young.
Isn't it neat to be able to twist your own?
Well, here's the thing. I've actually heard the Texans say that they were looking at drafting Bryce Young. So Tepper's not off. You've got the number 1 and number 2 draft picks. Honestly, I've heard that for so long. Like, I've known since last draft that he wanted it. But I do know that Tepper was flying to every single one of Bryce Young's private workouts. And that's very uncalled for. I don't know if he did the same thing for CJ Stroud, admittedly. But
I thought that was interesting because you said, because he said, this was who we wanted. Then today, of all days, he decides to say, well, we really did want CJ Stroud. And I'm like, is that because what?
I gotta look that up. Hold on. I'm going to Vashti's website real quick.
Okay. Lamar says, David Tepper has done a horrible job. He loves football, but he is not a football guy and comes from the business world and has now put up the right football people in the position to build his organization. He has made mad move after bad move. He didn't set up Bryce Young to succeed neither. Frank Reich, who should have never been got with a job to begin with. Couldn't agree more.
Here's what, okay, and there's a video backing this up too, and I can link this to our page. I'll message Vashti and ask her if it's okay. But, and if you guys need to check her out, Carolina Blitz and at Carolina Blitz on X. But admits his firing. Rumors have swirled that Panthers owner David Tepper vetoed Frank Reich's choice of CJ Stroud as the #1 overall selection in this year's draft. During his press conference Tuesday to discuss the coaching change, Tepper addressed the report, saying that the decision to pick Young was unanimous, adding that the coaching staff, scouting department, and ownership were all on one accord. We preferred Bryce. He was our #1 pick. We had a lot of conviction. And straight up, they did have a lot of conviction in Bryce. Think of what we gave up, Carrie.
You guys are screwed for two more years.
Oh, we're screwed for 10 more years, 5 more years minimum. And yeah, Lamar, I agree with you. Here's my issue with David Tepper. And I was going to say this when Vashti was done. But David Tepper's dream has been to own a team, right? Like, he was the minority owner in the Steelers. This is his dream. This is what he wants. This is, his end goal. He wants it too much, so he's too involved. And he doesn't understand football operations enough. Steve Wilkes was the right coach because Fitterer believed in him. Tepper believed in him too. That's why he named him interim head coach. The players believed in him. Key. The players believed in Steve Wilkes. And I was surprised because I really thought Frank Reich, having played with Sam Mills, would actually reiterate, keep pounding in everything it meant. He didn't. This team has, I don't know who it's going to be. It's got to be a strong person. I could honestly, exactly, Cole. You've heard me say that more than once too, my friend. He needs to focus on the business side because nobody's better in business than he is. He is a true rags riches story. Like, literally, he couldn't even afford a ticket to an NFL game growing up. Now he owns a team. That's amazing. That's the American dream. He's passionate. I do think he's loyal, but he needs to back out of football operations a little bit. Yeah, he needs to have a voice, but he needs to let football people do football things. Like, I do a better job, and I've never played real football in my life. So, I mean, that's just me. Yes, 100% Lamar. The last 5 years have been are worse than the first 5 years of our existence. Yep, 100%. Literally, I only convinced my dad to go to the Cowboys game because historically, and get rid of analytics. Hey, football people, analytics do not win the game. Just saying. Use it in small doses. Don't plan your whole game around it. And Carrie, how many plays does Andy Reid have? More than 5? Yeah. I need a creative coach. Just saying.
You cannot. No. You can't have Andy.
I want Andy.
You can't have him.
Andy ain't gonna deal
Lamar
with David Tepper.
and I will go to fisticuffs with you. You
Listen,
can play.
Andy is not going to deal. Do you know who I think it'll be?
The Eagles fan. You can play the Bills player in these roles.
Well, I'm going to always side a little bit with the Bills because half my team's there. But, what was I going to say? Oh, crap, Carrie. What was I going to say? And yes, Lamar, I agree with you 100%. David Tepper, like I said at the beginning, needs to realize that. Do you know who I think it's going to be? I think there's only one current coach in the NFL that can handle David Tepper.
I hear that Harbaugh may need a job after leaving Michigan.
Harbaugh was already in Carolina. He was one of Jerry Richardson's guys. He's not going to do that. No.
I'm just playing. I hear you have a lot of fun.
We already had a college coach. Go away. I honestly could see Bill Belichick taking it over. I think Bill Belichick is probably the only coach in the league tough enough to handle him and to teach him. You know I'm right. You know I'm right.
No, no.
Hey, Lamar, you lived here for 18 years. You know it's too hot most of the year to wear a hoodie. That's just because, I mean, if all the reports coming out of New England are true. Plus, who else would be better to get us out of our issue? We're fine on cap space for the first time in like 20 freaking years.
You know what I heard today, which is an interesting, or is it today, yesterday? I don't know. It's kind of all blurs together at points. Someone said that the New England way, the Patriot way, only works in New England.
Yeah.
Because we've watched it flail in many places. That coaching tree does not do really well outside of New England because the New England way is not the same. And RC said, Ryan Clark, said on one of the shows, he said they don't have a culture where the coach will speak to. Bill does not speak to the mass. He speaks to. He has a few of these, but when Ryan was working, he's like, I didn't understand it when people were telling me that. He's like, my coach always talked to me about my family, things outside of football. He had a relationship. Mm-hmm. And if the New England way is not, if the Patriot way isn't to keep the two parties from interacting, it's not going to succeed anywhere else.
Right. And I agree with that. But I actually think Bill understands keep pounding.
Good.
And you know what? He can keep Dan Morgan as his assistant GM because Dan can draft some offense too. Or get Luke Kuechly in the draft class because I know he's a scout right now. But, I mean, get Luke in there. And Greg Olson, I love you, dude. You can come in as an assistant head coach, but you are not going to be my head coach right now. We need to repair damage. And you need to learn the ropes. And I do not want David Tepper screwing with you. I know you're a big boy. You make a lot more money than I do. But I don't want it because I think you and David would probably clash. And I definitely don't want Steve Smith in my coaching booth because he already talks enough smack to David Tepper as it is on air. Jen,
you and I could talk all night. You see that we have hijacked our friends' time.
We have. It's been fun though. And I've missed you.
I've missed him being here. I'm glad we were here. I miss Megan for sure. And Miss Candy. But we love them.
We miss them. Candy, have fun with your family. Megan, have fun with your family too. And yeah, Lamar, make some phone calls. Give me a job. I mean, I'm currently employed, but I'll take a new one.
While you're at it, get me hired at the Chiefs. Actually, I was really hoping I could get that Texas A&M coaching job because my resume says I cannot coach football. So I figured I could get one of those great non-coaching.
Nebraska. I mean, they like hiring coaches that can't coach football too.
I want a job where I get paid millions of dollars for not showing up. That's what I want. So
freaking spectacular.
That's why I was like, this Texas A&M head coaching position would be right up my alley.
We need to go in politics and have lunch with PACs and get bought and paid for stuff.
Yep, there you go.
All right. Carrie, Edson Real, Lamar, thank you. Paul, thank you. Cole, thank you. You guys all rock. Will Vogel.
Rob, thank you.
Love you, Lamar. Rob, thank you. Carrie really loves you, Rob. Yeah. Good
night,
I love you, Rob. All right, good night, guys. See you in 7. Let us know if you have any topics you want us to talk about. Bye.